microphone. And by muting your microphone, you allow me to be heard. I can hear myself. And then that prevents others within this webinar from hearing what's going on in the background where you are. Also, if you'd like to ask me a question or have a response immediately while we are doing this webinar, you can use the chat on the side of the screen, and you can do it that way. And because we have so many people, what we'd like to do is I will call on you individually, but there is a feature within Zoom where you can raise your hand, quote unquote. And if you choose to do that, I will see you and I will try to recognize you that way. So we are going to get started. And I want to again just say thank you to everyone who is joining us right now. I would imagine for many of you, online and Zoom meetings and using the internet is something you've been doing a lot of lately. And so we're going to continue that. We know there's a lot of obvious reasons why we're doing all of this, but we want to welcome you to our webinar on emotional intelligence. This is part 1. This is a repeat or a makeup. So if you've participated in this before, with me, then you have credit for this. You do not need to attend. If you just like to attend because you want to be a part of it, you are certainly welcome. If for some reason you have attended this particular webinar and it's not showing up with you having credit on your end, let me know at the end of this webinar and we'll try to clean that up, because everyone has been given credit, but there have been some issues with showing credit on your end. So you have been put in officially, but for some reason you're not able to see it on your end. So if that's you, if that applies to you, you can drop me a note or hang out afterwards and we will take care of that and make sure that you get credit. Okay, so we weren't sure how many people to expect today, but I'm just very glad that you all are here. Today's session should take us approximately an hour. Hour and 15 minutes at the most. It turned out to be a very beautiful day. So even though we can't do very much, I think it's still good to just to be able to enjoy the sunshine as much as we can. Originally, we were going to use this time. We like to do what we call icebreakers and try to give everyone an opportunity to try to introduce themselves. But to cut back on time, and because we have so many joining us this afternoon, we are going to forego formal introductions. But this is what I am going to ask you to do. If you look at my next slide, ask you to share your name, your campus, and then your feelings about COVID-19, our current COVID-19 situation. So what I'd like for you to do, instead of actually telling that to me, I'd like for you in the chat, describe in a word or few words. By few words, I mean less than 5, how you feel or what's on your mind about the current COVID-19 situation. And believe it or not, your response has a lot to do with today's webinar. So I'm going to give you just about a minute or so just to think of a word, our expression. How do you feel about the current situation that's going on in the world? And write it in the chat. Thank you so much for your responses. Yes, so Faith said, I don't know how long it will last. We have to take precautions and maybe pray about it. Elizabeth says, mindful. Courtney, overwhelmed. She's contacting us all the way from Orlando. We're with you. Our thoughts are with you. Vicky, last night I was anxious. Wanda, people need to think of others. These are amazing, very good responses. Gina, sad for my students, but healthy. Good to hear. Sarah, rising concerns and hope. We understand that. Yeah, sometimes you got both things happening at once. You feel hopeful, but you're also anxious at the same time. April, overwhelmed. Hope you come by and see me sometime, April, if you can. Alex Garcia, I'm in Chicago campus and concerned about COVID-19. We hear you, Alex. Samara, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Describing the crisis is scary. Yes, I understand. Tanya, concerned. Bianca, scared, unsure, but still hopeful. Yes. Thank you all very much. Kenya says, I can finally detox. Nelson, I know it will pass. Yes. Thank you so much. I hope that you all are able to look at these responses. Your observation of these responses and your own response are actually a part of today's webinar. To just dive right into today's subject matter, we're talking about emotional intelligence. And as we're talking about emotional intelligence, I want you to consider and think about what is actually involved and what we're asking you to consider here. This is not a therapy session. You should know that. We're not talking about that. We really want you to reconsider or to add to your definition and ideas about leadership and professionalism and what is required. And we want you to come away with today's session knowing that emotional intelligence is a skill and a necessity of professionalism and leadership. And your responses that you just gave really are in line with what we are tasked to do here. We are tasked to do many things when we consider emotional intelligence, and one of those is to be honest and identify how we are feeling. We really call that more properly self-awareness, but I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. So as we consider emotional intelligence, what we're really talking about is the ability to understand, use, and manage our own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Everyone is feeling lots of emotions right now for a whole variety of reasons. When you are in a professional environment, and particularly when you're in a leadership role, being aware of your own emotional state and being aware of the emotional state of others becomes a skill to help you be effective at your job and at completing tasks. The awareness of that, and then developing skills about how to deal with that, because we are human beings. Emotional intelligence acknowledges the fact that we're human beings with emotions. So even at work, you can get emotional because we bring our personal selves to our work. At work, you can feel angry or sad or upset. You can feel great joy and happiness, but all of those things have to be managed. Managing your own emotions or the others, particularly if you're in a leadership role or working in a team. So we realize the awareness and being able to properly read emotions of ourselves and others becomes incredibly important in professional and business situations. We want to focus this afternoon on 4 main aspects or sets of skills related to emotional intelligence. And we're going to break these 4 down deeper this afternoon. 1, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. If you just take a look at those 4, you can begin to see how and why emotional intelligence will be incredibly important for you as a professional, as a leader, as someone who wants to be efficient in a professional environment, who can complete tasks, who can be a part of teams, and still at the same time be a human being with feelings and emotions, and recognize that others have feelings and emotions. We can't necessarily turn those off when you're in a professional environment. We give ourselves more permission to be emotional or emote more when we're away from work, but we're still human beings. We still carry those things with us even when we're at work. And so we want to talk about the skill of being able to manage that so that we can be effective. So let's go a little bit deeper. When we talk about self-awareness, in more detail, we're really talking about emotional self-awareness. That is the ability to know yourself and understand your feelings. And I like to share that with this particular aspect, it requires you to be honest, to tell yourself the truth. Now, another aspect of my job, completely different and separate from the university, I am a counselor and a therapist. And one of the things I often share with people is that if you have difficulty telling the truth, I challenge people to first tell themselves the truth. Even if it's something you have to just speak in your mind, you can't be effective in a professional environment if you can't at least be honest and truthful, which can be two different things, but I'm using those interchangeably. If you can't be honest or truthful with yourself, then you will not be able to be successful at obtaining and growing in your emotional intelligence. Accurate self-assessment. Again, you've got to be honest. You have to be in tune with your emotions and with your body. And we're talking about understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and their effects. So a lot of people are very aware of their weaknesses, but few people, some people aren't as familiar with their strengths. So you need to know the things that you're good at and the things that you're not so good at. And know how to manage and navigate those in a professional environment when you're with your team, because your strengths are still your strengths and your weaknesses are still your weaknesses. And so if even if you're trying to grow and develop and improve in those areas, particularly referring to your weaknesses, you need to be aware of what they are. That requires a high level of honesty and truth telling to yourself. Self-confidence. Yep, self-confidence is a skill, and it is also directly tied to self-awareness. Having quote unquote faith in yourself and being willing to put yourself forward. Do you believe that you deserve to be successful, to be one who is accomplished and can achieve? So that attitude, you can call it faith, but the attitude or belief that you deserve what it is that you're achieving or that you're wanting to accomplish is very much tied to self-confidence and self-awareness. We'll touch on this a little bit more this afternoon. The second aspect of emotional intelligence, self-management. And this really is getting at the heart of emotional intelligence. We talked about self-awareness. That's the beginning. That's the first step. But when we talk about self-management, we are talking about first, emotional self-control. How do you control your outward emotional expression when you are in a professional environment, yet something triggers you emotionally, negatively or positively? There can be repercussions to emoting too much or not enough in a professional environment, believe it or not. So your awareness of that and your ability to control your emotions are incredibly important. So it's an important part of emotional maturity, controlling your feelings or expressing them in appropriate setting. This is key. Next, achievement. This again is tied to self-management, achievement, being goal-oriented and being able to work towards your goals. Do you want to accomplish something? You can be just a doer, one who just simply does, but the desire to achieve in your professional work and your environment with your team is an aspect of self-management. It's, you could say it's what's self-motivating you to be better, to be greater, to accomplish the task that you have at work. This is all a part of your self-management initiative, being self-motivated and having the ability to keep working despite setbacks. We know that you're always going to have setbacks, but we've got to be able to develop a skill that allows us to continue working despite setbacks. And we're going to talk a little bit how not to take setbacks personally, as particularly in professional environments, not to take criticism and negativity personally in professional environments so that they don't paralyze us professionally and prevent us from moving forward. So that initiative to move past obstacles is a key aspect of emotional intelligence and something that we want to manage. Transparency. This is one of the first things that we started talking about today. Being honest and open, interacting with integrity, and being trustworthy. Now, you might think of some examples where being transparent may not really work for you, but we found that in professional environments that ultimately being honest and open from the beginning and consistently always works to your benefit. And so we know that can be challenging because people are motivated to not be transparent for various reasons. Again, this ties right back to the idea of self-awareness, tying to being aware of your weaknesses and those things that you want to work on. Are you at least aware of those things, and then aware of how they can be impacting who you are professionally? Adaptability, showing resilience and the ability to change course when necessary. Welcome to our world. We are living this right now. We have had to adapt to some drastic, unexpected changes that have never happened in the history of our country. And I know no one has experienced what we're dealing with right now, but what do? As professionals, we adapt. We become resilient and we figure out, okay, what is the next step? How do I continue to accomplish my goal despite what's happening? All of you are a testament to that right now. If you are here right now, you are someone who is showing adaptability and resiliency. You can't physically go to campus, yet you are still here with a desire and the initiative to learn, to be better, to go to the next level. That is a self-management skill. Next, optimism. We share a great presentation, I like to think, about optimism in another workshop. But optimism is so key and so important to have when you're in professional environments. So having the right outlook, hoping for the best, and preparing for success is key, is incredibly important, despite how grim everything may look. Your goal is to succeed. You might even want to look at it as your job is to succeed. So to help you, start off with an optimistic perspective or point of view. And we'll talk about that just a little bit more this afternoon. The third aspect of emotional intelligence, social awareness. So now we're getting into how well you perceive your world around you and others around you. So empathy is one of the pillars of the ability to form connections with others, understanding and acknowledge others' emotions. So your ability to simply read another person's emotions becomes really key. That can be difficult to do if you don't understand your own emotions. Sometimes it may be difficult to understand sadness or anger, and they may be confused for another emotion. We have found, studies have shown that particular communities of people continue to mistake the physical look of confusion with anger. Now imagine being in a professional situation where you perceive someone to be angry or upset when actually they just have a question. So your ability to properly read this situation becomes a necessity when it comes to succeeding in these professional environments. Next, service orientation. So being helpful, contributing to the group effort, and displaying good listening skills. If you are hired or a part of an institution of any kind, you are a part of a community. Even if you work all by yourself and you never see anyone else, if someone hired you to come in to be a part of do a job, you are part of a team. And so you're there to contribute. So being helpful and displaying an ability to help and to take direction, regardless of what your role is a job qualification. So this all is a part of your ability and how you go about connecting to others. People like to work with people who want to work with them, or at least appear to want to work with them. And then the last aspect of social awareness we're going to touch on is organizational awareness, the ability to explain yourself well and aware of how you are being understood, as well as sensing the level of comprehension of your audience. So there's basically two things packed into this idea of organizational awareness: your ability to communicate yourself properly to others so that they understand you. You know, believe it or not, it's possible to share too much information. We often share with those who are emerging leaders that we frown upon, we call it externally processing, thinking out loud. If you're in a leadership role, or even if you're in a team environment, working through your thoughts out loud can be confusing to the people who are with you, because they're still trying to figure out, well, where are you? But if you're the leader, they want direction, they want instruction, they want clarity. They show us what you conclude, not show us what you think you're going to do, because what you think you want to do may not be helpful. In fact, it could be confusing. So that's one aspect of it. And then sensing the level of comprehension of others. You have to be able to read the group and to be able to determine, like, are they getting me? Are they really understanding me? They heard you, but are they listening? Are you all on the same page? And oftentimes we have to assess that. You have to read the room and be able to determine, okay, they all are understanding what I'm talking about. So now I can move on to the next point. But perhaps that's not what's going on. Maybe you need to explain it again or in a different way. But you have to be able to be aware of what's happening within the organization to be able to know if you can move forward. Okay, and then the last aspect, because we said there were four, is relationship management. For those of you who were a part of the very last workshop that I facilitated, we talk a lot about the importance of building relationships professionally and personally, and why that is also a skill. And for this particular piece, it's no different. Building relationships is just absolutely key. You have to be able to have enough social skills, or what some people call soft skills, to work in environments to get things done. Sometimes that requires you to make some adjustments to your personality, adjustments to the things you like and dislike, just so that you can show that you can get along, that you are amiable, that you're a part of the team. And it will vary from one professional environment or situation to another, but it becomes very, very key. So as we look at that, you can see how within relationship management, we're talking about inspirational leadership. Of course, here, Golden Eagle Leaders, we're all about leadership. So when we say inspirational leadership in relationship to management, we're talking about being a good mentor, a role model, an authority figure. So this is something that's hopefully you aspire to be. We want you to make the right decisions and the right steps now to put yourself in a position to be a good mentor or role model or authority figure in the future to someone else. Perhaps you're not there now, but you can build the foundational pieces right now to help you become an inspirational leader, and building the relationships properly is an aspect of that. Influence. Every leader, every type of leader must be able to influence others. It's a requirement. There are lots of ways to do it, but we're hoping that you will discover your particular way how you go about influencing others. You can use negative techniques to influence others. You can use positive. You can use manipulation, trickery, intimidation. There are lots of ways, and we don't have the time to go into all of those ways in which we can influence others. But as we say, you have to be able to influence or persuade others to your point of view, to your way. If you're in a leadership role and you have a team, you have to be able to convince them effectively and motivate them to do the task at hand, because the task at hand may seem daunting at first, but it's your job as a leader to motivate them, to influence them. And there are a variety of ways to do that. It doesn't require you to be a charismatic speaker or having even a charismatic, outgoing personality. There are lots of ways to go about doing that. And hopefully you'll stay with us here within Golden Eagle Leaders, and we'll share with you some of those techniques for influencing others based upon your personality and your skills and your goals. Conflict management is another key aspect of relationship management. So we mean having the skills to improve relationships, negotiate, and lead. The ability to settle disputes, differences of opinion, and misunderstandings. My colleague, Jordan Cologne, just gave, I'm sure was an incredibly informative workshop on conflict resolution. And so you see how that comes to play into relationship management, resolving problems, negotiating, compromising, and being able to identify a problem. Key aspects of communication. There are lots of communication tools and techniques that you want to be aware of for resolving conflict. So it is something you have to manage. You have to navigate that. And so we won't, again, be able to go into in-depth. Hopefully you'll be able to stay tuned and participate in one of our other workshops where we can go in greater detail with that. A change catalyst, recognizing and supporting the need for change and making it happen. Listen, if you are working in any kind of environment, in fact, because you are a student at National Louis University, you are all about change. Think about that. You're here because you want changes in your life. People hire you to be a part of an organization or an institution because they want changes to be made, whatever they could be. It could be changes in grades for their students. It could be improvements for a project. They want you to move something from point A to point B. The goal and the point is we have to be comfortable with the idea of change in a professional environment, always, and in nearly every way. Many of us, again, we're dealing with that right now, this whole idea of changing. And when we say change, we mean recognizing and supporting the need for change and making it happen. When the COVID-19 crisis hit our country, and it's affected everybody in so many different ways, we saw people at National Louis really take charge and created a lot of change so that we can continue offering a quality education to you and offering these online classes. Lots of changes behind the scenes went on. I was part of a lot of those meetings. So that you have to be comfortable with that. And I know for many of us, if you're dealing with those changes right now in your own personal home, right, where everybody's getting used to the idea of doing things differently for right now, that's just the aspect of it. But if change that we have just experienced is a part of it, know that more change is coming. In other words, even what we're going through right now isn't going to last forever. It can't. That's just the raw laws of nature. That's history. That's a whole lots of other things are telling us that the current situation won't stay current. More change is coming. So we want to be able to recognize it and then support it when it does come our way. And the other last aspect of relationship management that we want to highlight is developing others, helping others, building their skills and knowledge. So we're talking about reaching out again. Share what you know. When you learn something that's really cool and something that's very beneficial and advantageous, share with somebody else who doesn't know. Someone in this who is a part of this here, share with a peer or a colleague. Passing along information is building relationships. That's a part of who we are, and that's a crucial part of management when it comes to relationship. You do it when you share a piece of information with someone. You've just extended a relationship to them, regardless of who they are and what you're sharing. That's what you're doing. So we're talking about teamwork. We're talking about collaboration and how important that is. Working with others in an effective manner. It's all becomes incredibly crucial. Okay, before we move on, yes, let's see what some of the comments you have on the side. And I'll give you opportunity if you'd like to. You can ask a question. And those of you, if you do have a question or comment, you can unmute your microphone and just go ahead and begin talking, and we'll go from there. So does anyone have a question or comment before we move on?
Hi, this is Latoya. I'm new to the Golden Eagle group.
Hi,
I really,
Latoya.
hi, I really took in what you stated about sometimes when you are a leader that too much information is like considered overload to the group.
Mm,
And
yes.
so I think I was trying to figure like, how would I be able to decide when is enough, you know?
Yes, you're right. When you're in front of a team, they're looking for instruction, and oftentimes what a mistake that can happen is that you start to reinterpret or regurgitate. That's a bad word, but you start to repeat the problem. And so you go through all the details and the history of the problem that you're there to solve. Instead, the people in front of you, they want to know, okay, what is a solution? Tell me what we're going to do, because the people in front of you, they actually probably know what the problem is also. And so what they're there is to hear and know what the instructions are. How are we going to solve that? And so that's one thing to keep in mind if you're talking about how do we cut down on sharing too much information.
Yeah.
Another thing, and I'll let you continue your point here in a second, Latanya, is that we always encourage, whenever you're a part of a team or you're leading, to have an agenda. Have an agenda about what you want to talk about and think that through before you get everyone in front of you. Like, have it from beginning to end. This is what I want to discuss. And then by thinking through it, you'll be more aware and be more efficient about the information you can share. So you had another comment, Latanya? I'm sorry.
Yes, a while back, someone, I think it was a fellow teacher a while back, was sharing me, usually when she make decisions, I guess consider as a group or with this particular situation, is she normally use PAR, the problem, action, and results. Is that true? We use that, and I can use that in those type of environments?
Absolutely. You need to, your friend and you are a little ahead of the game for one of our other workshops. We use that and we break that down. So you're ahead of the game. Latanya just shared some information with us, everyone. She's building relationships. Thank you. Thank you, Latanya.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a comment or question so far? Okay.
I do, Keith. I'm sorry, this is Samara.
Hi, Samara.
Will this material be emailed to us so that we can refer back to it as well? Because this is good stuff.
Yes, we are going to. Yes, we're going to. I'll share all this with you all at the end. But this entire presentation, you know what? You just reminded me of something, Samara, I forgot to share with you all, which is that this entire workshop is being video recorded. So we have created a YouTube channel of just Golden Eagle Leader webinars. And so we will share the links with you, and you can go back and you can listen to this entire presentation as many times as you want to. And you can also share that for those who can't be a part of this particular workshop at the time that is given, we are instructing them to go to the YouTube channel, look at the video, and then there will be an accompanying quiz that they are required to take. If you are here present with me right now, you do not have to take the quiz. Only for those who can't be here and who are not in attendance right now, and by the way, I have been taking your attendance, those who are not here right now, then they are required to take the quiz after they view the video. But we'll do all those housekeeping type things, more of that towards the end. Deborah Knox said, we use these relationship management skills on a daily basis, especially since we are in quarantine. Yes, you are right. We absolutely do. And Vanessa agrees. All right. If we don't have any more questions or comments, let's move on. Okay. So one of the things that we like to highlight, and I'm really trying to share with you the benefits of emotional intelligence, because for some, this is a new concept, but emotionally intelligent leaders, these are some of the benefits. And I think this is really, remarkable. They tend to view their team members as individuals with unique abilities, backgrounds, and personalities, rather than as a uniform collective. Now, let me make a suggestion. As I read these benefits off to you, I want you to think of every bad boss or supervisor you have had, and then consider how perhaps who they were as a boss could have been improved by some of these things here. Second, these are the benefits of emotional intelligence. Seek to understand and connect emotionally with their staff, genuinely sharing in their joys as well as their concerns. Have the ability to build mutual trust and respect. I can guarantee you, if anyone complains about a supervisor or someone in a leadership position, it's mostly because they don't trust them. There's not mutual trust or respect. At least it's not felt. It not only has to be experienced, but you have to learn how to properly communicate that, because perhaps they do, and you are just misreading the trust, and you are just misreading the respect, and that goes both ways. As we go on, they're able to control their own impulses, and they view the situation from all perspectives and seek mutually beneficial solutions. You can probably think of a variety of situations that can happen in a professional environment, and to have a leader or even a team member express an impulsive reaction. It may be real, but may be completely inappropriate. That can derail success, efficiency, or even morale in a professional environment. So we're not saying don't be human. You're a human being. You have emotions. What we're saying is we want to be able to acknowledge what those emotions are, navigate or manage our impulses, and then discover new, healthy, and appropriate ways to express those emotions when we're in a professional environment. Again, we're not telling you to turn off who you are, personally or emotionally. We bring our full selves to our jobs. We have to navigate and manage while we're doing that. And then finally, again, we're sharing the benefits, if you will, of having emotional intelligence, the ability to be transparent and not afraid to admit when they are wrong. You can't imagine how many quote unquote points you can win with your team by showing some humility and being transparent and sharing and admitting that you are wrong. It goes a long way and proves that you're human. In fact, it makes you seem accessible and relatable when there's a moment when you say, oh, I got this wrong. Being able to express that, because the inability to acknowledge it leaves some concern for those who are looking at you. If there is a problem and you caused it, but you can't see that you caused the problem, that can be of great concern for a lot of reasons. All right, any questions or comments there? Let's see, Deborah said, as leaders, we have to suppress our personal emotions. Yes, we have to be able to navigate those and then develop new healthy ways to express those. They need an outlet. All of your who you are and what you are, they needs an outlet. Most of us will probably, try to wait until after you leave the office and you get home, and then you express your emotions then. But I would say there's even a place for who you are emotionally at work. We just have to know what is the right technique, what is the right way or method for you to do that in the work environment so that you can maintain your professional integrity, your reputation, and your professionalism. I'm sorry, who we have speaking there? Oops, okay.
So this is Deborah Knox, Keith, and I just want to say that we do have to learn how to deal with our emotions, especially if they're personal emotions in that given situation. But like you said, once we leave the office, we can, let the emotions out, because they do have to have a place to go.
That's
Because if
absolutely
not,
right.
then they will stay bottled up inside of us. And then the next problem or the next assignment, quote unquote, that we're faced with, that emotion that we did not let go will be added on to the new thing that has arisen.
You're absolutely right.
And that
Unacknowledged.
deals with our facial expressions and everything that you said before the slide before this one.
You're absolutely right. You mentioned facial expressions. For many of us, it's a dead giveaway. You think, well, I didn't say anything, so you think you've been saved. But some people can read your body language. They can read your facial expressions. If you're a parent, you know when your 14-year-olds look, they don't say anything, but their face tells you everything you need to know. And they don't even realize that they're sharing this.
Mm-hmm.
And the work environment, unfortunately, is no different. You have many people who express exactly what they think and feel just through their facial expressions. So that goes back to our very first point about emotional intelligence, self-awareness. Do you know how you look and what your body language is when you hear a negative news in a professional environment? Do you twist the body? Do you do this? Do you maybe rub your hair or do something with your nails? Being aware of that is a crucial aspect of what we're talking about here.
Keith, I want to add something to that.
Yes, please always share your name with the group and then go ahead and make your comment.
Hi, I'm Vanessa, everybody. So what I've noticed in my case is that whenever there's something bothering me emotionally I work as a pre-K assistant, and the leading teacher, she's very herself. She's very, I don't even know how to describe her, but I believe that I express the way that she does things when it bothers me, and I always get headaches like right away whenever I have like an argument or whenever something's irritating me. Or so that's like my way of like, I won't express it in a facial way, but I would get like a headache or something, some kind of pain in my body.
So again, that's a perfect example of how you may have suppressed it, but you never gave it an outlet. And so it'll end up coming out some type of way. So that's a very good example. Thank you for sharing that. We had a comment here, Bianca said, my facial expressions are the worst. It is my telling point. I need to practice my quote unquote poker face. Well, Bianca, you are not alone. Many of us need to learn how to do just that. All right.
Keith,
any other comments?
Keith, this is Bob Kubicek.
Hi, Bob, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a leader, I think we need to show how we can express our emotions appropriately. For example, I had an issue with a manager of mine, and I just said, I'm angry right now, can I talk to you tomorrow? Or in dealing with an employee, you can say, that made me angry that you disregarded what I told you, but not screaming at them and telling them, and lashing out. I think that's an appropriate level. We need to learn that it's okay to give emotions, because people get touchy when you don't show emotion of some kind.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And what a great example. I hope you all heard what Bob said. Your ability, because we all have breaking points, if you will, but the ability to simply say, okay, I need a moment, because we don't think that we can do that in a professional environment. And I'm telling you, yes, you can. You can say, I need a moment right now, because I need a moment, because you don't want to do something that's inappropriate or say something that could be unprofessional. So yes, it's perfectly okay to say, I need a moment and let me get back with you.
And I followed,
Go ahead.
yeah, I followed up with my manager a few days later when I saw her in person, and I said, you know, I apologize, I wasn't able to speak, you know, respectfully or with good control at that moment in time. And she said, no, that's good. We don't want to be where you can't, you know, where you've gotten to a point where you can't, you know, feel like you control your emotions, you know.
Absolutely. Trust me, your human resources department prefers you to say, I need to take a moment, than to do something that could create much more more issues later on. Thank you very much for your comment there, Bob. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I've got a couple of videos that I want to show you, and I want you to share your reaction to these videos. So this doesn't always work as smoothly as I want to, so just bear with me a second. Let's see here. Okay, can you all see this? Can you see the screen? Someone comment yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to begin playing this, and let me know if you can't hear it.
No sound, Keith.
I can't hear it either.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, did you see that? Awesome. That happens to be, that's from one of, I've always enjoyed that particular musical. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. But I'm going to show you, I have two more videos I want to show you just very quickly. And I want you to, as you're looking at the next two videos, I want you to consider the following questions, something I want you to think about. How do you think the movie clip represented emotional intelligence? For the first one. And then as we're going to the second and then the third one, and they're all relatively short, like under 2 or 3 minutes. Has there ever been a time when you were unable to control your emotions? I want you to consider that question as you're looking at the next video. And then finally, what strategies do you use to control your emotions? That's the final question I want you to think about as we are sharing these next two videos.
I'm sorry, Keith. What
Yes.
was the question? Or was there a question?
Yes. They should be on. Okay. Let's see here. Do you see those on my screen right now?
No.
Oops. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay. Those are the three questions I want you to think about as we're going through these next two videos. So can everyone see those questions?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. Thank you. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Okay, just